Hello and welcome back. Today is Sunday, July 30th. I was just calculating it out in my head. We are roughly 10 weeks into our gardening experience, and it's an amazing transformation. So we're here just to give you a garden tour. I can't say it's going to be quick because every weekend we come out here and look at it. I feel like I'm in awe over what has changed and developed and produced since the last time we were here. So here we are in the northwest corner of the garden, and we've got our Nakota potatoes here, all doing very well. The potatoes, as far as harvest goes, I know in our last video we showed you how we were stealing some potatoes, and we actually dug a couple of plants because the foliage was looking like it was pretty much dead. So we dug a couple of plants. But typically with potatoes, what you do is you just let them go until the foliage on top dies back. And at that point, you dig them. Because they're underground, they do have some protection from frost and cool weather. So a lot of times they're one of the last things to come out of the garden. And was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago, Troy, that we actually dug the potatoes under the snow?
That was two years ago.
Yeah.
Well, that was also MEA weekend.
True.
So,
But
it's
so
mid-October.
yeah, mid-October, but there was snow on the ground when we were digging potatoes, which is kind of a fun thing to remember. So anyway, these are the beans. Hey, can you lift up the top of the fence? My Aunt Diane and my mom came out on Thursday morning and completely picked the green beans. Breakfast is ready.
We'll be in a minute.
So they came out and picked the beans completely. And we were out here yesterday, and you can actually see we are ready for another full picking. Here they are. They are producing to insanity. Unfortunately, Duke has grown a taste or developed a taste for everything in the garden. The shell peas, my dad and I like to come out here and just eat them raw. So we were throwing the pea pods on the ground, and Duke decided he liked eating those. So then he started helping himself to the peas directly off the plant, as he's doing right now. Yesterday, he picked cucumber off of a plant and ate it. Hey, Duke,
Cucumber.
a whole cucumber.
Who cares?
Leave the peas. So anyway, back to the beans. As you can see, they are prolific. They are doing very well. They are bending the fence at the top. I totally forgot to show you in last week's video that we had 3/4 of a 5-gallon pail full of green beans that we had picked. That was the first harvest. What my mom and Aunt Diane picked on Thursday, they got, call it 2 5-gallon pails plus a little. And I'm guessing what we picked yesterday was probably 2.5-ish gallons. I don't know how else to measure that for you. And then I have no idea. I'm going to have to probably take another video this afternoon after we harvest and show you how much we get. But they're doing wonderful. They love this weather. The vines all look very healthy. And our plan here is we are snapping these beans, taking them home. I'm going to can them. And once we get to a point where we just have more than we need or want, and our stores are full and we're tired of eating them for dinner, then we'll start giving them away. Maybe selling them at the end of the driveway. Who knows? That's all up in the air yet. It would be nice to recoup some of our investment. But, you know, it just feels great. Last Sunday, I took all of those patty pan squash and I put them in a basket, and I walked throughout my neighborhood and gave them away to 3 or 4 neighbors. And that was kind of a cool feeling. I have a feeling that in the city, those neighbors were kind of like, who is this weird person trying to give us food? But it was a great feeling to have more than what we needed and be able to share with friends, family, and neighbors. So, and coworkers too. All right, so that's the beans. I think you get the gist. These guys who are orange, oh my gosh, they're just covered. There was a hummingbird on them. Okay. Right. So these guys have really flat beans. We did eat some. They were this size and smaller, and they were pretty tasty. But they do have a bit of a fuzzy exterior on them, which might be a bit off-putting, especially if they get larger. But, you know, you never know until you try, and that's what this is all about, trial and error. So, anyway, we've got, these are provider bush beans. They're doing the same as what you're seeing on the rattlesnakes and those other guys, producing prolifically. Joel would really like to do some more of these next year. These are Royal Burgundy, and they're a beautiful bean. They turn green when you cook them. He came up yesterday with Troy after being at scout camp for a week, and he grazed his way through the garden. It was awesome. He was like, oh, what's this? Grab it, pop it in his mouth. He discovered that the pinto beans don't taste like green beans. And I'm like, yeah, we need to leave them be so that they can develop the beans within the pods and then shell them dry. So, yeah, he tasted one of those raw, didn't like it.
Well,
So, now we know. There's the taters. You can kind of see down near the end. I'll just go ahead and walk this. Yeah, we need to weed again. But harvest takes precedence. And the plants are all at a point where they can fend for themselves. So the weeds aren't as detrimental as they were when the plants were younger. But here's what I was talking about with some of the potato plants kind of dying back. And these are what the potatoes look like that we dug last weekend. Now, we don't know if this is from stress of potato bugs, if there may be an issue with the soil in this area,
turn around and show them.
or if it's maybe
because we've got it going there too.
Yeah.
A swath.
There's a swath right through the middle of the garden
shorter there too,
where everything's just a little smaller in this one stretch through the garden. So we're going to figure that out, do some soil samples. But yeah, that's that. Again, all a learning experience. These are, again, the snap peas. We got to pick these bad boys again because those pods are full to bursting.
Oh yeah, they are.
Yep. Troy's going to snap one here for us. It is very tedious to sit and snap all of these.
Especially when they're this full. Holy cow.
Yeah, they're... So the next time you eat peas for dinner, they're probably commercially produced, so there's not someone sitting there trying to pop open every single one, but that's what it takes to get a couple of cups of peas that you can cook up and eat for dinner. So what we tend to do, and actually my dad has been huge on this, he'll sit down. Oh, yeah, there goes Duke. That's how he got his taste for peas. And I'm not blaming it on Troy. It's all me. It's all me. So yeah, we'll sit down, watch a movie, and snap beans and shell peas. There's still some snow peas coming.
I think that cold snap we had last week did them wonders.
Yeah, we'll probably do at least one harvest now. I don't know if we'll get another off of them. These plants actually look pretty healthy.
I think we will.
We might get another harvest off of them. Yeah. So there's that. And I'm eating the peas that Troy just shelled. Troy, these are so good. It's so sweet. You sure you don't want some?
Just don't do raw peas.
He doesn't do raw peas. They're just sweet like candy. So again, another 3 rows of potatoes here. Our carrots. Is there the top of a root that we can take a peek at? I think this one. Or that one down there. They're coming. There's the carrots. Woot woot.
We got some pretty decent ones.
All right.
Coming on, and everything, about 99% of what we transplanted all survived.
Yeah.
So we will have a very decent harvest this year.
Absolutely.
In about 2 weeks to a month, you're not going to be able to see dirt through here.
Right. So I'm going to back you up here and take you back to the beginning of the tomatoes, because the tomatoes are doing well. These are the current tomatoes. What's weird is at home, these are ripening for us. And I don't really see that here, which is interesting. They keep blooming and the bees keep coming, but I'm not really seeing anything ripen like we are at home. So that's very interesting. But the rest of our tomatoes, we have got right next door. These are yellow cherry tomatoes. And look at how those come on. It's just so cool looking. And these are ripening. We've eaten them. My mom and I both prefer the yellow to the red at this point. The skins are a little softer, fruit's a little sweeter. And these are growing after we tied them up last weekend. These are what? Some of them 2 feet.
2 feet above.
2 feet above the fence. And the fence is 4 feet-ish tall. 4.5, something like that.
Yeah, 4 feet. Or 50 inches.
Yeah. So yeah, there's gonna be plenty of these smaller guys, which you can eat. You can put in salads. You can juice them. You can can them. We'll be doing a lot to maintain those. Just hundreds of them. Hundreds. That's so cool. Here's another cherry variety that's red when it ripens. These guys are a little bit bigger. They're about the size of a ping pong ball. And then we get into Jersey Devil, which are a variety like Roma. The basil's going mad. These are also Jersey Devil. They kind of look like peppers. They're really goofy looking. But I thought with a name like Jersey Devil, I've got to try them. Got to grow them. Never know.
Could be the best tomato we've ever grown.
Could be. These, I believe, are Amish paste. Setting on tons of fruit.
And again, these were, well, I suppose you can see where we tied them off. But, going nuts.
Yep. So we're just waiting for these big guys to go ahead and start blushing and ripening. This guy is a totally different shaped tomato. It'll be interesting to see once these guys ripen what we like, what we don't like. That'll help us decide what we're going to plant and how many next year. So yeah, that's the tomatoes. On one hand, I look, some plants have got 3 or 4 tomatoes on them. Other plants have hundreds. Some look better than others, like these. We pulled some plants last weekend that had some strange rot in the stalk. And these guys were kind of afflicted by the same type of thing. We figured we'd leave them, see what happens, and learn from the experience.
All the rest of them on this row have it now. We should have cleaned our
Tools
before we moved down the line after we worked on those ones that had it. It's probably that tomato blight.
More little bumblers. They're everywhere in here.
I wish you guys could hear this garden right now. It's literally just humming with bees. You walk through all the vine and it's unreal. I've not seen bees like this in forever. It's amazing.
It's a good thing. That's part of the reason why, and we'll get to it in a minute here, I'm not clipping all of the blooms and where it's going to seed on the basil plants, because that's all food for the pollinators. That's all stuff for them to get out here and do their job. And as you know, we need to try and protect the pollinators. And I'll leave it at that. So anyway, I need to move my camera around here. Here we go. At the end of the tomatoes, we have spaghetti squash. And the spaghetti squash is kind of weird in that we've got some that look like a spaghetti squash should. That's how big it is. And then we have others, and I believe they're on the same vine.
Yep, it's further down.
Here we go. There's one here. And that have this odd color. So,
And we are dealing with a single central plant.
yeah. There's one point of origin.
You can see that all of them going that way are all that way too. So we'll wait and we'll harvest them in the fall and see what they taste like.
Yeah, exactly.
You may have a new favorite. We don't know.
Here's the morning glories, and I made sure to come out here early enough to see them open, because by midday they close. Oh, there's Joel's potato plant. Morning glories are a great draw to bring pollinators into the garden, whether they be the bees or hummingbirds. And they're open in the morning, and then by midday they close. They finally reached the top of the trellis. This was my one thing that I really wanted out here, was something that would just be fun and pretty. And I've been waiting, not so patiently, all year for this thing to just completely fill out and bloom and be beautiful. And they're reaching out, making friends with the tomatoes, reaching out on the other side, making friends with the onions. If you can call wrapping themselves around them and choking them with a death kill making friends, then yes, that is exactly what they're doing.
Don't step on the herbs.
Got an herb.
Almost killed Herb.
Got an herb. Got an herb.
I don't know what that one is. It's got like little berries on the
It
ends
almost
now.
looks like little peppercorns, but I know we didn't plant any of that. So anyway, that's my thing. There's something squeaking over there in the vines, and Duke just heard it. So we may have some excitement here in a minute while Duke hunts up whatever that was.
And this is how you know he's a true farm dog. He knows what he's supposed to do.
So we'll let
Send it up,
him do his thing.
Probably just a little field mouse.
Yeah. Over here we have what's left of the radishes. We've got down here at the very end turnips.
Which should, oh my lord. All right,
Oh.
I'm just going to pick this one just so you guys can, oh my god. Honey.
There's a turnip.
And this is why you thin them.
So yeah, turnips are doing well. Turnips are another root vegetable where if you leave them in the ground until after the first frost, they get sweeter.
And if you use them in a food plot situation, the deer will dig them out after it's frozen because the starches convert to a sugar when they're frozen.
All right, so here's one of our
Zucchini.
zucchini. And Troy's standing next to the other zucchini. You can see it's grown even taller since last week. My mom harvested 12 that were 15 inches long or longer. You know, go grab that one.
13.
Troy just picked the 13th. And then there were 4 or 5 that were about a foot long. Just for fun, we're gonna leave one out here. We're also gonna leave a single patty pan
Got a couple there.
to see
Got
how
one there.
big will it get. So yeah, lesson learned on the zucchini, plant one.
One. Your dad said it too. He said, only plant one of those things.
Pumpkins. Pumpkins are wild, wild, wild. There's one. The vines, just get an overall look at the vines. It's a sea of green and a sea of bumblebees who are out here doing their job trying to pollinate them. So, pretty cool. Troy's looking for one of our big dog pumpkins to kind of show you, give you some scale on what we're working with here. Can't pick it up.
Let me get over top of it and see if I can get it up in the air.
Oh
no,
my
there's
goodness.
too much other stuff on it.
Okay, but I can get closer to you. If you can move that leaf. There's a pumpkin.
And there's at least a dozen right here of them that size.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is another variety of pumpkin over here. This one is actually going to turn orange on the outside. The one we showed you first is going to turn white
pure
on
white.
the outside. So, yeah, there's that. We'll have pumpkins for jack-o'-lanterns and pie and puree. And as we get into the fall, we'll be doing pumpkin spice like everybody else in the world. So, yeah. Now we're making our way to the patty pans. Oh, I learned something. And Troy knew this last week, but I didn't talk to him about it to learn from him. We noticed on some of the vines, there's some fruit in here that's on the vine that appears to be rotting on the vine. And I had no idea what was wrong because all of the foliage looks great and we've got fruit on it that's doing very well. And apparently what happens is the blossom did not get fully pollinated, and this is what happens. The fruit develops to a certain point and then just rots. So, bummer, but we have plenty of others that are doing quite well in the garden, so it's no big whoop, and I'm told that it is 100% normal. Here is a pumpkin. It's hard at this point to tell the pumpkin from the squash from the melons unless you see fruit because they are all commingling. This is one of our patty pan squash. We completely picked this down. Oh, lost the camera again. Just like last week. Sorry about that, y'all. This was completely picked last week, which stimulated 1,000 more blossoms, which is stimulating 1,000 more patty pan squash. So, yeah, we'll be giving that away again. What do we got over there, Troy?
Honeyboat delicatas over here.
Yes, these things, if I remember, and I was reading up on them, just to kind of refresh my memory, the Honeyboat delicata was supposed to be like up to 6 inches long.
Which is what that one is.
Yeah, and that looks great. This is a fall squash, so it needs to stay on the vine for another month or so to fully ripen. But there are some in here that are obnoxiously large, like this. We've got some twins in here.
Yeah, bunch of twins.
There's a bunch of Siamese twins that I can't readily see right now, but yeah, these guys are just coming on like crazy. Colleen, start doing some research now because a lot of these are coming to you, girlfriend. We got 2 of these plants, and what I showed you was just a cross-section of one of them. All right, so what else we got here?
We got mango melons, which when you first look, it's like, well, where are they all? And then you get in here to the center.
There they are. Yeah, there they are.
And there are hundreds of them.
Yes, and those guys turn yellow when they're ripe. So it'll be interesting. They're also called a ground peach. So, you know, something that we've never tried, something that I'd never heard of before this garden. Our melons are coming on. And we got a couple of big ones. We did try picking one today.
Yeah, it's not quite ready.
Not quite ready.
But here's an example of what we're dealing with. And I'm going to say that's going to go all at 10 pounds on that one. 8.
They're heavy. And the one we cracked into was, what, very juicy, you said?
Oh, it was super wet inside, but it just hadn't turned red yet.
Mm.
It tasted great. I mean, we tasted a little bit of it, but I just won't eat it yet because I don't want to have like stomach issues.
All right, I'm going to try and leap because I missed the peppers, and I think the peppers have changed quite a bit since last week. They are a lot taller. There are a lot of blossoms on here. So we should have a decent crop of jalapeno and Thai chilies. Our ground cherries are over there. They look like an absolute bush. I've been looking at recipes on what to do with those. Those are the ones that have a berry inside of the husk. They call them ground cherries because the husk turns brown and then the cherry falls on the ground, hence ground cherry, and that's when it's ready to harvest. My sister made some freezer jam out of her ground cherries last year. I just had some of that on toast last night. Very tasty. I believe that's in the future. So here's bitter melon, aka Goya. And we have one. So we'll keep tabs on that bad boy. These are the cucamelons, and they're really starting to come on. Started eating these yesterday. Are you gonna eat one? It's a little citrusy.
Not my deal.
It's a little citrusy.
I'll eat the other cucumbers, but those ones, those aren't for me.
A little citrusy from the rind and tastes like a cucumber on the inside. Very seedy though.
Yeah.
People have tried pickling them. I've heard that they get squishy, so might not be worth it.
Tell that because the way that when you bite into it, it squishes. It doesn't crunch.
Here's a cucumber. Oh, there's a whole bunch of cucamelons down here. They're all intermingling. Here's a cucumber that decided it was time to be picked. Off of the garden in the city this past week, I got one that was 17.5 inches long. And because it was an English variety, it's going to be absolutely fine because they have very small seeds. But yeah, these are all looking great. Problem with the cucumbers is they just don't keep, and it's not something you can can or freeze because yuck.
So if you work with us, you'll probably get.
Yep. If you work with us, you might be getting cukes this week. I'll be bringing those into the office. But yeah, I propped all those guys up. And here's another cucamelon. I like them. They're a nice little snack to just have out here in the garden. There's another couple cukes on the vine.
A couple.
And these have been harvested, I don't know how many times.
This plant was the first one that you ever ate a cucumber off of.
Just ate another cucumber. All right, so over here, the tomatillos are absolutely insane. So I just took some stuff and tied them up because otherwise the vines would pretty much cross all the way over here and touch the other side. We just needed to corral them. But bees love these guys too. They're setting on a whole bunch of fruit. There's two different kinds over here. One of them is purple, one of them is green. And you can kind of tell the difference here, but you won't be able to really see it until they're ripe. These husks are brown, and the fruit inside will either be green or purple. So that's kind of fun. Marigolds are going crazy. Brussels sprouts are going crazy. And cabbage. Time to, oh, there's the cucumber haul. Time to talk cabbage.
Yeah, baby.
Megaton cabbage. Yeah.
We're about the size of a volleyball right now. And it's moving.
So those are doing great. Broccoli is still doing great, still producing, still looks beautiful, is very tasty. And I think we're gonna start harvesting some Brussels sprouts because they are really super duper coming on. I trimmed up some of the bottom leaves here on this plant to give us some more room. And yeah, that's the garden, y'all. I'll probably do another quick video to show you all the haul, including the peas and the beans once we get those picked. But she's producing. I couldn't be happier. Thank you all for joining us on this journey. Until next time, take care.